You wake up in the morning, swing your legs over the edge of the bed, and the moment your feet touch the floor, there it is. That deep, grinding ache in your knees that makes you grip the nightstand just to stand up straight. If that sounds familiar, stay with me, because what I'm about to share changed everything for thousands of people over 50, and it starts with just one simple morning habit. Welcome to Prime Health Lab, the channel dedicated to helping you live stronger, move better, and feel younger at every age. I'm glad you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button now. We put out new content every week designed specifically for people who want real science-backed solutions for a better quality of life. Now, let's get into this. Today we're going deep into knee pain, not just what to do about it, but why it actually happens in the first place. And here's where it gets really interesting. A Japanese physician named Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, who practiced medicine well into his hundreds and was known as one of the longest-lived doctors in modern history, built his entire philosophy around one idea. Movement done correctly is medicine. Not surgery, not painkillers. Movement. Specifically, a precise, gentle form of morning movement that targets the exact biological mechanisms behind knee degeneration. By the end of this video, you're going to understand what those mechanisms are, why most people over 50 are unknowingly making them worse, and exactly what to do every single morning to start reversing the damage. Let's begin. The first thing you need to understand is what's actually happening inside your knee when it hurts. Most people assume knee pain is just about cartilage wearing down, and while that's part of the picture, it's not the whole story. Here's the real science, and I'm going to make it simple. Your knee joint is surrounded by something called synovial fluid. Think of it like the oil in a car engine. Its job is to lubricate the joint, absorb shock, and deliver nutrients directly to the cartilage, because cartilage has no blood supply of its own. It can only receive nourishment through that fluid. And here's the critical part. Synovial fluid only moves when you move. It's not pumped by your heart. It's activated by gentle, rhythmic compression of the joint. When you sit still for hours, sleep through the night without moving much, or stop exercising because of pain, that fluid becomes thick, stagnant, and less effective. The cartilage slowly starves. Inflammation builds. And the next morning, when you take those first steps, everything feels stiff, swollen, and painful. Now here's where it gets even more interesting from a biological standpoint. After the age of 50, your body produces significantly less of an enzyme called hyaluronic acid synthase, the compound responsible for keeping that synovial fluid thick and viscous. Less of this enzyme means thinner, less protective fluid. Less protective fluid means more friction. More friction means more inflammation. And more inflammation triggers something called cytokine release. These are small chemical signals your body produces during injury or stress. The problem is that chronic cytokine activity in the knee joint actually accelerates cartilage breakdown. So what started as mild stiffness can turn into a self-reinforcing cycle of degeneration if you don't interrupt it. But here's the encouraging part. And this is the reason Dr. Hinohara's philosophy holds up under modern science. This cycle is not irreversible. The knee joint has a remarkable capacity for recovery, provided you give it the right stimulus at the right time. And that time is morning. The reason is simple. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep with minimal movement, your synovial fluid is at its most stagnant. Your joint is at its most deprived. The very first movements of your morning either kickstart the healing process or deepen the problem. Which direction it goes depends entirely on what you do in those first 15 minutes after you get out of bed. Most people do one of two things. They either jump straight into their day and load a cold, unprepared joint with full body weight and walking, or they pop a pain reliever and try to push through. Both approaches skip the most important biological window of the entire day, And that is exactly the window that Dr. Hinohara spent decades studying and refining. Now let's talk about what to actually do, because understanding the problem is only half the equation. The other half is having a precise, repeatable morning routine that works with your biology instead of against it. And this is where Dr. Hinohara's approach becomes genuinely practical. The protocol I'm going to walk you through is built around 4 phases. Each one serves a specific biological purpose, and the order matters. Don't skip ahead and don't rush. The whole sequence takes between 12 and 15 minutes. That's it. But done consistently, every single morning, it creates a compounding effect that most people start feeling within the first 2 weeks. The first phase is what we call joint awakening. Before you even stand up from bed, while you're still lying on your back, you begin with something called ankle pumping. Simply flex your feet upward toward your shins, hold for 2 seconds, then point them away from you. Repeat this slowly, 10 times. This sounds almost too simple to matter. But here's why it works. Your calf muscles act as a secondary pump for circulation in the lower leg. When you activate them gently before standing, you start pushing blood and fluid toward the knee joint, warming the surrounding tissue and beginning the process of thinning that stagnant synovial fluid. Think of it like warming up a cold engine before you drive it. You wouldn't floor the accelerator at -10 degrees. Your knee deserves the same respect. After the ankle pumps, while still lying down, move into heel slides. Bend one knee slowly, sliding your heel along the bed toward your body until you feel a mild stretch. Not pain, just gentle resistance. Hold it there for 3 seconds, then slowly return. Do 10 repetitions on each side. What this does is begin moving the knee joint through its range of motion without any compression or body weight. The cartilage absorbs that synovial fluid like a sponge being squeezed and released. Every slow, controlled repetition is essentially feeding your cartilage the nutrients it was deprived of overnight. Now let's move into phase 2, which is gravity-assisted mobilization. This is when you sit at the edge of your bed, feet hanging off the side. From here, you do seated knee swings. Let your lower leg hang naturally, then gently swing it forward and backward in a relaxed pendulum motion. No force, no effort, just gravity doing the work. 20 slow swings on each leg. This phase is important because it introduces mild traction to the joint. As your lower leg swings forward, there's a brief separation of the joint surfaces. That small gap creates a slight vacuum effect that pulls fresh synovial fluid into the space between your femur and tibia. It's the same principle used in some forms of physical therapy, just applied gently and naturally in your own bedroom every morning. Phase 3 is where we begin building what researchers call neuromuscular activation. And this one surprises most people because it has nothing to do with the knee directly. It focuses on the muscles around it. Here's the key insight. Your knee joint itself has almost no muscular attachment. It depends entirely on the quadriceps at the front of your thigh, the hamstrings at the back, and the muscles of your inner thigh and hip to provide stability and reduce the load on the joint. When these muscles are weak or underactivated, which happens naturally with age and inactivity, the full force of your body weight transfers directly to the cartilage and bone. That is one of the primary drivers of knee degeneration in people over 50. Not just wear and tear from use, but inadequate muscular support. So in phase 3, still seated at the edge of the bed, or moved to a sturdy chair, you perform straight leg raises. Sit tall, extend one leg out in front of you until it's roughly parallel to the floor, squeeze your quadriceps firmly for 3 seconds, then lower slowly. 10 repetitions per leg, 2 rounds. This simple movement activates the vastus medialis, the teardrop-shaped muscle just above and inside your kneecap, which is the single most important stabilizer of the patella. When this muscle is strong and firing correctly, it literally guides your kneecap along its proper track, reducing friction and pain with every step you take. Follow that immediately with seated inner thigh squeezes. Place a rolled towel or small pillow between your knees while seated and gently squeeze it for 5 seconds, then release. 10 repetitions. This activates the adductor muscles, which help distribute load evenly across the joint and reduce the sideways stress that causes so much chronic pain on the inner knee. Phase 4 is the final and perhaps most underestimated piece, standing calf raises with a warm-up walk. After completing the seated work, stand behind a sturdy chair for balance, rise slowly onto your toes, hold for 2 seconds, then lower just as slowly. 10 repetitions. This reactivates that calf pump system we talked about earlier, now under gentle load, and prepares your entire lower leg and ankle chain for the weight-bearing activity of the day. Finish with a slow, deliberate 5-minute walk. Indoors is perfectly fine. Not a power walk, not a stroll. A mindful, heel-to-toe, full-stride walk that integrates everything your joints just prepared for. The entire sequence, ankle pumps, heel slides, pendulum swings, straight leg raises, inner thigh squeezes, calf raises, and a short walk, takes about 15 minutes from lying in bed to being fully ready for your day. And what it does over time is nothing short of remarkable. It restores synovial fluid circulation. It rebuilds the muscular support system around the knee. It reduces chronic low-grade inflammation by preventing the joint stagnation that feeds it. And it trains your nervous system to move your knee correctly, with proper alignment, proper load distribution, and proper muscular engagement, so that every movement throughout the rest of your day continues the healing rather than undoing it. One more thing before we move on. Consistency beats intensity every single time when it comes to joint health. Doing this routine at 70% effort every morning for 30 days will produce far better results than doing it perfectly 3 times a week. The biology of cartilage recovery is slow and steady. It responds to repetition and rhythm. So commit to the morning, keep the movements gentle and controlled, and trust the process. Now let's talk about the bigger picture. Because the morning routine we just walked through is powerful, but it works best when the rest of your day is supporting it rather than working against it. And this is where most people hit a wall. They do everything right in the morning, then spend the next 16 hours unknowingly undoing their progress. So let's break down the 4 lifestyle factors that have the biggest impact on knee health after 50, and be honest about which ones might be quietly sabotaging you right now. The first factor is inflammation, and specifically where it comes from. Most people think of inflammation as something that happens at the injury site. You twist your knee, it swells up. That's inflammation. But chronic knee pain in people over 50 is driven by something different: systemic inflammation. This means low-grade, body-wide inflammatory activity that keeps your joints in a constant state of irritation even when you haven't done anything to aggravate them. And the number one driver of systemic inflammation that most people completely overlook is refined sugar and processed carbohydrates. Here's the biology in plain language. When you eat foods that spike your blood sugar rapidly, white bread, sugary drinks, packaged snacks, even some so-called healthy cereals, your body releases a surge of insulin to manage it. Over time, repeated insulin spikes trigger the release of those same cytokines we talked about earlier, the inflammatory chemical signals that accelerate cartilage breakdown. Researchers at Harvard Medical School found that people who consumed the highest amounts of ultra-processed foods had significantly higher levels of inflammatory markers in their blood compared to those who ate whole, minimally processed foods. And those inflammatory markers directly correlate with the speed of joint degeneration. The practical shift here is not about going on a strict diet. It's about one simple substitution made consistently. Replace your most frequent processed carbohydrate with a whole food alternative. If you eat white toast every morning, switch to whole grain sourdough or oats. If you drink juice, switch to water with a slice of lemon. If you snack on crackers, replace them with a small handful of walnuts and some sliced apple. These are not dramatic changes, but done daily, they meaningfully reduce the systemic inflammatory load your knee joints are dealing with around the clock. The second factor is hydration, and this one is almost universally underestimated in people over 50. Here's something most people don't know. Your sense of thirst actually diminishes with age. The biological mechanism that signals your brain to drink water becomes less sensitive over time, which means by the time you feel thirsty after 50, you are already mildly dehydrated. And mild dehydration has a direct effect on your knee joints because synovial fluid is roughly 80% water. When you're consistently underhydrated, the volume and viscosity of that fluid drops, the cushioning effect decreases, and friction inside the joint increases. It's a simple equation, but the impact is significant. The practical target here is straightforward. Aim for 6 to 8 glasses of water spread throughout the day, not all at once, but consistently from morning to evening. A useful habit is to place a full glass of water on your nightstand the night before and drink it as your very first act of the morning, before coffee, before the routine, before anything else. This single habit replenishes the fluid your body lost during sleep and gives your synovial fluid production a head start before you even begin your exercises. The third factor is sleep, specifically sleep quality, and its relationship to pain perception. This connection is far deeper than most people realize. During deep sleep, your body produces the majority of its human growth hormone, a compound that plays a direct role in tissue repair, including the repair of joint cartilage and surrounding connective tissue. Poor sleep doesn't just leave you feeling tired. It measurably reduces your body's capacity to repair the microdamage that accumulates in your knee joints throughout the day. And here's the part that creates a frustrating cycle for many people over 50. Knee pain disrupts sleep, and poor sleep amplifies pain sensitivity. Research published in the journal Arthritis and Rheumatology found that sleep disturbance was one of the strongest predictors of increased pain severity in people with knee osteoarthritis, stronger even than the structural damage visible on X-rays. Breaking this cycle starts with sleep hygiene basics that specifically support joint recovery. Keep your bedroom cool. Around 18 degrees Celsius is optimal for deep sleep. Place a pillow between your knees if you sleep on your side, which reduces rotational stress on the joint overnight. Avoid screens for at least 40 minutes before bed, as the blue light suppresses melatonin and reduces your time in deep restorative sleep. And consider a magnesium glycinate supplement in the evening. Magnesium plays a key role in both muscle relaxation and sleep quality, and deficiency in this mineral is extremely common in adults over 50. The fourth and final factor is something I want you to sit with for a moment, because it's not physical, it's psychological, and it's one of the most powerful and least discussed drivers of chronic pain in older adults. It's called pain catastrophizing. This is the tendency, completely understandable and extremely common, to interpret pain as a signal of permanent damage, inevitable decline, or a body that is simply falling apart. When your knee hurts every morning, it is natural to start thinking things like, "This is just what getting old feels like," or "My knee is too far gone to fix." The problem is that this thinking pattern is not just emotionally discouraging, it is physiologically harmful. Neuroscience research over the past 2 decades has shown clearly that how we think about pain directly modulates how intensely we experience it. The brain has a system called the descending pain modulation pathway, essentially a built-in volume control for pain signals. Positive expectation, belief in recovery, and a sense of agency over your own health literally turn that volume down. Fear, helplessness, and resignation turn it up. This means that starting your morning routine with the genuine belief that your body is capable of healing is not just motivational fluff. It is a biological intervention in its own right. A simple practice that supports this is spending 60 seconds after your morning routine, while you're standing, joints warmed up and moving well, and saying to yourself quietly or out loud, "My body is healing. I am stronger than I was yesterday." It sounds simple. It might even feel a little strange at first, but you are using your own nervous system to reinforce a healing state rather than a degenerative one. And over time, that shift in internal narrative produces measurable changes in how you experience your knee, your mornings, and your life. Here is your challenge for this week. Commit to the morning protocol for just 7 days straight. Not forever, just 7 days. Keep it gentle, keep it consistent, and pay attention to how your first steps feel on day 7 compared to day 1. Then come back and tell us in the comments what you noticed. We read every single comment here at Prime Health Lab, and your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take their first step. If this video gave you something valuable, share it with someone over 50 who is quietly struggling with their knees every morning. They may not know that this kind of natural, science-backed solution even exists. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time. Because next week, we are going deeper into the relationship between gut health and joint inflammation, and it is going to change the way you think about what you eat. Thank you for spending this time with Prime Health Lab. Keep moving, keep healing, and we will see you in the next one.
Prime Health Lab is dedicated to men's internal health. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.